Yeah, whatever. Oh shit. Yeah, whatever.
A nice mug. All right, here we go. Hello and welcome in to the 70th episode of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. I am Alex Donno, and you can tell that Jerry and I just figured out how to set background pictures on our Skype, and we have to thank our special guest, Daniel Lucci, for actually teaching us how to do that. We'll introduce him in a second. International break, so we have the international break blues. I'm not exactly sure why teams were allowed to travel during a pandemic the way that they are internationally, but we're almost at the end of it. But you know what? The positive of this international break is the Azzurri keep rolling. They get a victory. We're recording this on Wednesday, a nice 2-0 win against Bosnia-Herzegovina. So a lot to break down before the Serie A weekend resumes. Let me introduce my co-host, Jerry Mancini, before we introduce our special guest. You know, Jerry, as of right now, is Ciro Immobile positive or negative for COVID-19? Because it seems to change by the hour. He's positive, he's negative, he's positive, he's negative. What's the latest, man?
Did you guys see the tweet today that Joe Fischetti actually tweeted out where it's Lucci saw it. It's Lotito and he has
I
two
saw it.
phones and one is he's positive and the other one's he's negative. And that's fucking what it is, man. I don't even know what the heck Immobile is anymore. I just feel bad for him because they have really ruined his name, his image rights, everything. Like they're just ruining the person he is, the player he is, because of this whole COVID-19 thing. And now, I think he's doing the right thing to sue and any damages towards his name and himself. And this is a guy who is doing what is told. That's it. And at the end of the day, what's he supposed to do? If he says he's negative, if the test says it's negative, he did two tests. One said negative, one said positive. Like it's not like that just proves that Lazio's doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't know how to put this together, guys. Like I just hope that tomorrow morning I wake up and he's goddamn negative because I can't take this
Yeah,
anymore,
he'll
man.
be negative when you wake up, and then by the time you're done eating breakfast, he'll be positive again.
Well,
Let me introduce, hold on. We'll continue
no
that thought in a second. Let me introduce our special guest. Now, if you look very closely at his picture, he's not honoring Inter the way that I am. He's honoring Paulo Dybala at Juventus scoring that ridiculous goal against Inter. I mean that in a good way. Ridiculous is in an amazing goal that he scored. Daniel Lucci, you can check out his work at World Football Index. He is a Juventino, but more importantly, he's an Azzurri supporter. So the three of us can unite on that, where I'm an Inter fan. Jerry is a Lazio fan. Lucci is a Juventus fan. We all make unlikely allies. But Mr. Lucci, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm good. Thanks for having me back. It's been a good time, and the Azzurri win and on to the Final Four for Nations League, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, not that I give two shits about Nations League, but I'm excited to see that they're playing well. I mean, 21 matches unbeaten now for Italy, and the game today, guys, was a lot of fun. I mean, the midfield connection with Barella and Locatelli is unbelievable. My guy Bastoni played a very good game at center back, and the goals that the Azzurri scored were ridiculous. Insigne had that beautiful feed to Belotti. Finally, Belotti is scoring goals for the national team, had a ridiculous volley to finish that one. That was in the first half. In the second half, breathtaking ball by Locatelli for his teammate Berardi, who had a beautiful finish, another volley. So these were two world-class goals, a clean sheet kept. So thank you to the defense and to Donnarumma. And here we are, guys, as Lucci mentioned, Final Four for the UEFA Nations League. More importantly, 21 games unbeaten. So let me ask you guys a question that we were asked by Dieter, who gave us a Twitter question. And I told you guys in the last episode, we had too many Twitter questions to answer in one episode. So I was going to carry a couple of those over to this one. And I think it's better that we're answering this question in the following episode because we've had now another game in the books for Italy, right? Dieter asked us if the Azzurri can be a real contender for Euro 2020, which is being played in the summer of 2021, but it's just one of those years. And honestly, guys, I'm not going to pick Italy as the favorite, but I really think they're a dark horse contender, and I could see a semifinal type of run for this team. I want to see more consistent goal scoring from the number 9 position, whether that comes from Jerry's guy Cheeto, if he's finally testing negative this summer, whether it comes from Bellotti, who scored today, whether it comes from Moise Kean, who I think is a rising star, in the Italy ranks. Because, guys, I feel great, obviously, about the goalkeeping with Gigio. I feel great about the defense. I mean, Italy has an embarrassment of riches at center back, from older guys like Chiellini to a very young guy like Bastoni and everybody in between. There's an embarrassment of riches there. I like Emerson at left fullback. Right fullback is a little bit more of a question mark. But you could argue best midfield in Europe, at least in terms of depth, what Italy brings to the table. So, Jerry, let me ask you the question first. I mean, obviously, you always fear a team like France, and, Belgium is ranked very high. But if I just look at this Azzurri squad, I think the makings are there for a team that's going to make a deep run in the Euros.
No, absolutely. And the fact that a lot of their starters weren't even in this lineup to begin with. I'm just looking at their squad. You got Tonali there, Kevin Lasagna, a guy that you really like a lot, Lucci. You love his work ethic, the way he plays the game. He gives a really good, works very hard. And you got Calabria, Soriano, Pessina. These are guys who are not going to be on the lineup, I think, come next season. I think they're just there to fill the void, stop gaps. Orsolini, I would assume he's there, but if Nicolo Zaniolo is healthy, I think that Orsolini doesn't have a role on that right side personally. And then you got Giovanni Di Lorenzo, but the fact that they're able to call guys who are not even part of the squad and still make an impact and still help just shows the depth of what this team is like, right? And not because I'm a Lazio fan, I'm so impressed with Azzurri and how he's really flourished the last 3 seasons since arriving with Lazio. And I saw today that once again he really stepped up in the back end with Bastoni, and this is a guy who has really filled the void with Chiellini and Bonucci. And as much as I don't like Bonucci on a good day is very good. Let's be realistic here.
Absolutely.
Like when he's playing his top game, you can't be a hater. You got to put that aside and understand that this is a guy who can make timely challenges. He's very physical. He gives a really good sound awareness in the back end. So for me, Azzurri, and he came close to scoring today on a great run down the left flank there. So and sometimes I feel that if he had that athleticism to really play that wing back role, I think it would really suit him at times, because his ability to cross the ball into the box is unbelievable. So I sometimes think that had he ever thought about becoming a wing back, he wouldn't be bad, but he would be decent. Well, overall, like you said, the scoring, it's nice to see Bellotti score today. That was a beautiful strike. The pass was amazing by Insigne. And the last thing I'm going to say is that Florenzi being the captain again, once again today, it's nice to see that. But when you see the goal, the build-up from Insigne, how he started it, his emotion, how he really is very vocal on the field, and how he dictates the play and everything, and how he communicates with his players. This is the guy who's going to wear the armband come next summer. It's nice to see Florenzi still getting the experience and more. I think it's more of a help his confidence type of thing, where Mancini has really done a good job of getting players to play at a higher level and get the best out of his players. And I think that because it's not the Euros, and maybe he saw something in Florenzi that he needed to get more out of the player to see maybe he's a good backup to be a captain behind Jorginho, say. I don't know personally, but overall there's a lot of good pieces here. You got the Sassuolo duo who really stood out today. I think our midfield probably is probably our greatest strength on this team. And that's where you build around, right? So can they win it next summer or next fall? I don't see why not. From here till then, who knows what's going to happen to France, Belgium, and who's the other team? France, Belgium, and
Well, Spain kicked Germany's ass the other day. I think some of that has to do with Germany, but that was really, really impressive.
Well, anything can happen, right? Injuries happen from now till then. Who knows what's
True.
when we get to that game? Who knows if Italy has 10 COVID cases, if COVID's still impacting people, or what their schedules are like, and maybe players go on a decline, players lose their form. Knock on wood, maybe it's Immobile who all of a sudden can start to find the scoring, and it's players where you would think that they're the best players in the team, like a Jorginho, say, or Locatelli, who goes on the decline all of a sudden. This is say, right? So things can happen. It's from now to October. It's such a long time. It's almost 12 months almost. It's crazy. So for me, I think the first step is to worry about Euros, and then the shit Nations League is the last priority.
What do you think, Lucci? Your thoughts on the squad?
Yeah, I think they can definitely, turn some heads come the summer for the Euro. What I say, they're one of the favorites. Maybe if you're looking at the top 3 or 4, you'd always got to give it to France. Belgium is always a good team, but they're always shaky at the back. So, as long as Italy can find some goals up top, like you said, the number 9, if we can put in some goals, I think we can definitely have a deep run. With that said, I was very happy Belotti scored today. He's honest. He's my preference to start over Immobile. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but
no hate against that.
I'm a Caputo guy personally, but you know what? I just want whoever can score.
You know what?
Exactly.
I'm the guy who is going to give you the best chance to win the game. That's it. I love Lazio. I love my Lazio players, but if they're not the guys who are able to make the difference, and I love Immobile, I'm the biggest Paulo Immobile fan on this freaking Twitter account. Who knows? I may be biased to Immobile, but if Immobile is not the guy to score goals, I'm with you, Lucci. You got to play Belotti, you play Caputo, you play the guy who wins you the game. That's it. Well,
it's going to be interesting because I don't think they can carry all of Immobile, Belotti, Caputo, and Moise Kean. So one of them is going to have to stay at home. It's going to be interesting to see who makes it. Like we said, we have a lot of depth, not only in the midfield, but definitely on the wings as well. So if Zaniolo's back fit, that'll be a great addition as well. And as much as you said, Jerry, Acerbi played well today, but if Chiellini and Bonucci are both fit, they're going to be there, and it's going to come down to either Acerbi or Romagnoli maybe getting cut, because I think Bastoni is definitely a lock. He's really impressed me lately. So if you're going to carry 6 center backs, I don't know. You're kind of wasting a spot by doing that when you have. You got to include the likes. You got to carry some midfielders. You got to carry some wing backs, and it's going to be interesting to see who makes it. It's going to be a tight call for sure for Mancini.
I feel like Alessio Romagnoli has been on the decline the last season. Personally, like
really struggling.
I here's the thing with Acerbi. Okay, he arrives with Lazio. Simone Inzaghi once again saves another player's career. I don't know how he does it. He's done it with Luis Alberto. He's done it with Ciro Immobile. He's even gotten the best out of Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. We can go and Lucas Leiva. All of a sudden, Acerbi comes, and this guy, he was decent at Sassuolo, but with Lazio, he's become like this league catalyst. And I remember last year where people were saying that Romagnoli is better than Acerbi. I don't personally think so. I think that Romagnoli has really declined over the last year, whereas Acerbi continues to increase his stock value. And I know he's 32 years old, but this is a guy who's showing that's not the issue with him and how much he plays.
The problem is you follow too many Milanisti on Twitter, and they're massive. Milan Twitter is massive. Guys, I remember about a year and a half ago, maybe less than that, but time is like a flat circle now with this whole COVID thing. I don't know what happened when, but a while back, do you remember IFTV? They used to always run those polls, like position per position. Who's the best striker in Serie A? Who's the best goalkeeper? When they ran the poll of who's the best center back in Serie A, Romagnoli won the poll, beating out the likes of Koulibaly, right? So it's very obvious the massive power of Milan Twitter. They're just going to vote for their guy. And it's not to say that, I'm not going to completely bash Romagnoli, because there have been times when he's looked like a really promising talent. But there have been a lot of liabilities with him as well, both at the international level and with Milan, where this is like shocking performances, right? And I've also seen it with Milan Skriniar as an Interista. So I'm not just picking on the Milan guy, because there have been times a couple of years in the past where I thought, Skriniar is one of the best center backs in world football, and then he puts in some shocking performances. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? So it happens, man. But I definitely have high hopes for Bastoni. Very young in his career. I think he's 20 years old. But not only is he really sound defensively, but he can play balls like a midfielder. I mean, he has really great vision with his passing, and that's obviously something the Azzurri need as well. Before we move on to Serie A, I guess you can segue into that. Jim, you got some more bad COVID news from Lazio. Who is it now? Milinkovic-Savic has COVID? Right over there?
What the fuck is... Oh, why is it... It was like walking out. I was like, what the heck is going on there? Right there.
Yeah.
That's a big loss, I think.
Who knows how long he's going to be out for, Savage, man. I don't know. I've seen players come back in 3 days. I've seen players come back in 4 days. We were talking about it, me and my wife, actually. And she's like, even though, like, the routine recall is, 14 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could be out longer than 14 days, depending on how your body is, right?
Wasn't Ronaldo out for, like, 3 weeks almost?
Yeah, his was just over 2 weeks, I think.
Wow.
I think Savage is a big loss, but this is crazy, man, because you got, first off, guys, Luis Alberto being freezed out, you can put that shit to bed, okay? Because and I'm gonna give credit to Joe from Forza Napoli. We were talking today on the phone, and he's like, Jer, he's like, a lot of club presidents don't think when they're talking. They say a lot of stupid shit. And are very impulsive, just like when he mentioned about Koulibaly, and like they were not going to sell Koulibaly, and like, oh, our price is now 90 million, and take it or leave it type of thing, right? And he's saying that with Lazio, Luis Alberto is not going to go anywhere because it's crazy. Look at the rumor is today that he'll go on loan. Not purchase or buy, a loan. Why would Lazio loan Luis Alberto out to Everton? What the fuck does that do for Lazio? I'm sorry. When I saw that,
nothing.
Well, it doesn't do anything.
Makes no sense.
That makes no sense. If you're going to give Luis Alberto up, you're going to sell him for a value.
Mm-hmm.
Loaning him does not make any sense to me. What, you take half the wages out? Okay, big deal. Like, you're only hurting yourself by not having him in the lineup now. And the secondly is, for Luis Alberto to be gone, someone has to come in. And until I hear players coming in to replace him, Lotito is a stubborn guy. But at the end of the day, and Simone Inzaghi will speak up and say that I need the best players to help me win. And this Saturday, Luis Alberto will play. I'll mark you my words on that. He will not be frozen out, because then you're going to go with a midfield of no Luis Alberto and no Milinkovic-Savic. I don't think he's going to do that to himself. So the positive news was that Lucas Leiva did return from COVID. Luis Alberto returned from COVID against Juventus. And now we got Gonzalo Escalante, who has just resumed training too. Apparently, Sena Lulic could possibly come off the bench this weekend. So there are a lot of positive outlooks here, and hopefully Immobile comes back negative tomorrow. And if it's only Milinkovic-Savic out of the lineup, I think it's not as bad as people may think to be. They have shown a lot of good depth, and in past seasons, Lazio has always been criticized for not buying players. I think this is, and I have said this a million times, that a lot of people are so reactionary because, well, this is a bad transfer market because you didn't buy the Ronaldos and you didn't buy the Lukakus. But sometimes that doesn't always solve the team's issues. A guy like Daniel Akpa, who had a bad injury and was suited to be a really good player, is showing the skill now. And I know he's 28, but who gives a shit how old he is and what his prime is? People are saying, well, he's 28 years old. He's already in his prime. It doesn't matter. You got him now. You got him for 4 more years maybe.
Yeah.
You still got something coming out of him. You got Andrea Pereira, who didn't work well in Manchester United, just like a lot of players we've seen already. And now comes to Lazio, and Inzaghi has proven he can get the best out of players and bring them back to life. Then you got, what else? Wesley Hoot. Everybody says we don't buy back players. Guys, please tell me this. Who made this rule? There's no buybacks. Who's to say that
look at Lucci's club. Juventus brought back Morata, right? I mean, it happens. I mean,
Morata, Bonucci, list goes on.
If he can help you win, buy him.
Yeah.
I don't like that stupid rule. You don't do buybacks. I'm sorry, man. If a player can come back and and first he states his love for the team, like Morata has shown too, and two has maybe his loan stints. Like last year, he had a really good season in the Belgium league, and it's transitioning right now under Inzaghi. Like I just don't buy it. I think this team did a really good job in the transfer market. I know Mohamed Fades hasn't had a good start. He's a wing back that's 24 years old. Give him time. Vedat Marici, guy had COVID-19. Guy was nursing a leg injury. He arrived late. He needs to get used to his players. He hasn't played with everybody. Things are going to pan out for Lazio. I think this is probably one of the best transfer markets, and I think that Tade deserves a lot of credit because he really filled the voids and really checked off a lot of boxes in order to like compete this season, especially in a season that really has a lot of uncertainty.
It's been a weird start to the season. I mean, obviously, COVID-19 has played a big part of it. A lot of moving pieces. A lot of players have had to miss games. I mean, we've got a Laziale here, a Juventino, an Interista. Our teams are all currently out of Champions League position. Thankfully, the season doesn't end today. Milanisti wish the season ended today. But, Jerry's Lazio are currently in 9th. My Inter are currently in 7th. Daniel's Juventus are currently in 5th. I'd love your outlook, Daniel, on Juve. It's very much a transitional period here, especially early in the season under Pirlo. We mentioned Ronaldo having missed some time with COVID-19. Been some injury issues on the club as well. How do you feel about the first 7 match days? Is this about what you expected, or are you frustrated?
I think it should be what most fans should have expected from Pirlo, for someone who's never coached, the Primavera side, who's never coached a game in Serie A, that a very short off-season, preseason to go along with that. And, considering Juve brought in 5-6 new players, he's working with he's working with a whole new squad, right? So he's trying to implement what he wants, what he's envisioning. We've seen glimpses of it, which is nice to see, but sometimes, the odd time, things don't turn out well, like the last minute goal against Lazio. That was unfortunate. But maybe making a different substitution at the wrong time, that could affect a game, no matter if it's in the first, half an hour or, the last 3 minutes, like we saw against Lazio. So it's definitely going to be a lot more learning curves throughout the season. I think, trying to judge someone on 7 games wouldn't be fair, someone who's never coached before. And by the end of this season, we'll have a better view of what Pirlo's all about, I think. So,
oh, Dybala is my favorite player. I'll state down the record for this season. For this season, when he knocked that ball out, man, and then the whole build-up where Maricic is throwing the ball backwards, and Inzaghi throws it forward, and he throws it in, and then Correa with it. Oh, it just happened. You could feel that something was going to happen in Juventus, and you know what?
I agree. You could feel an equalizer coming. I felt, anyways.
It's something between Lazio and Juventus where these two teams, like, the rivalry is starting to grow. Whereas, I'm telling you, man, it's something where the best comes out of both sides, and it's fun to watch as a Serie A fan. I would say
that must be nice, because I can't remember the last decent performance my club had against Juventus. So at least I know Lazio Juve is always competitive these days.
How often does Inter beat Juventus in the last decade?
I don't know how many times exactly. I think the last time I want to say was 2016, maybe. It's been a while. It's been a long time. There have been a couple of draws since then. Last year it was both losses. I think the two
Yes.
previous years it was one Juve win and one draw each of the last 2 years. So it's been a while. I'm not. It's been a long time since I've known the feeling of beating Juventus.
You got to compare the budgets of 186 million by Inter Milan and what's Lazio. Fucking Vedat Marici, 20 million. and they still can't win a game. So that just proves that sometimes spending all that money doesn't always solve your issues. Like
Sure.
that. But I do have a question, and it's something to relate back. And it's from Chloe Brescherford. Well, and it was a tweet about her hate for Chiesa and how
Oh yeah.
she was so happy that he left.
I liked that tweet.
Fucking hated it, okay?
I liked it.
And I want to hear your thoughts about Chiesa and like joining Juventus. What does this do for him now? Because I'll give my take. I think that maybe she was speaking out as a fan. Maybe that she was either mad that he left and just put resentment towards him, or maybe she put the blame on him. I don't agree personally that Chiesa is the reason why Fiorentina was bad, and I don't think he's a selfish player.
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, it's a team that fucks up every goddamn player on that team, straight up. And finally, I know Prandelli is not, maybe you don't bring the same coach back again. Maybe he can't rewrite history what he did the first time, but I'll take that guy over the last three coaches they probably had in that team.
I agree.
Even Pioli, I mean, Pioli's a god now, Padre Pioli. But yeah, I agree on Iachini and Montello. Those guys can kick rocks.
Yeah.
But I just want to hear your thoughts about Chiesa, because I think this is a guy who can really make a difference going forward for Juventus, and along with Kulusevski, like these two are like really building blocks. And like I say Chiesa more because you know that there's a lot of upside to him. Kulusevski is still younger, so you still got to give him time. He's got the potential. You see it.
I think he's incredible. Kulusevski, I think, is within a couple of years, because obviously Ronaldo's not going to be there forever. I think Kulusevski is going to be the best player on Juve after Ronaldo leaves.
If he keeps, he's growing every game you watch him, he's gaining more confidence. Even when he's playing with Sweden now, I believe it was last week, he scored an incredible, solo goal for Sweden. And but yeah, the two of them still very young, and lots of upside, especially working with the likes of Pirlo and working under Ronaldo, learning from him, his training habits, how he has made it this far in his career by doing certain things. I think that'll help each of them. But definitely Chiesa, I think at Fiorentina he was in a losing squad, a losing mentality, a loser coach, which I've said many times, as I'm sure you guys seen on my Twitter. It's you can't blame one player, especially as a young 20-year-old, for Fiorentina not doing well. That comes down on the coach and the way he, deploys his players. Chiesa, yes, maybe he needs to work on his, final decisions, his final balls, maybe a little bit of his finishing. But, that's you're going to grow as a player. You're going to get better. But like all his fundamentals are there. He's got pace. He's great work rate, great defensively, can cover, can play multiple positions. That's the type of player you want, on your team. Someone with versatility in case you need to change your system or your formation mid game, to throw a curveball at your opponent. So I like the signing. Like you've mentioned, Jerry, I was a fan of it. I know some were a little concerned about the price. Of course, it's a lot of money for someone who's young, who's not completely proven, in Serie A or Champions League. But hopefully, the more he plays, the more he'll grow, he'll get comfortable. And you can see that with many young players, like Bastoni, another example, Barella. Even you knew they were both good players, but you weren't sure how they were going to do at Inter or how Chiesa is going to do at Juve. But he started promising, and the more he trains, the more he plays. I think that'll help him grow and work. He can work on the things that he needs to. I think he's going to be a lock for the Azzurri. He's probably one of the depth players because like we said, they have a lot of talent on the wing, but I think he'll definitely be on the squad come this summer.
Yeah, I can remember, you brought up Barella. I was always really bullish on him. Maybe it's because I do get a little bit biased toward Italian players, and a lot of the Inter fans that I converse with aren't even Italian or Italian American. They're from all over the place. So they don't necessarily rate the Italian players the way that, Daniel, Jerry, and I do sometimes. We can overrate the Italian guys. But no, I was a huge fan of Barella, watching him at Cagliari. And I remember one of the complaints that some Interisti had when they signed him, 2 summers ago was, oh, no, this guy, he doesn't offer anything in the attack. He doesn't score goals. He doesn't assist. I mean, yeah, part of that was playing on Cagliari. And another part of that was the guy was so young, and he had already started to get some opportunities with the Azzurri, even while he was still at Cagliari. And I saw him scoring goals for Italy in friendlies. I'm thinking, okay, this is people watch him at Cagliari. They say this kid can't score. I see a lot of potential there, and he up to that. He scored some goals, but I think even better are his ability to assist and free up attackers. So yeah, I think the same thing could be said for Chiesa. And this is a player that I've ripped before because it's kind of fun. And it's not really so much about him as a player. I've ripped the guy for his diving, which he's going to fit in very well at Juventus. I'll say that. But I've mostly ripped the guy for the diving. But as far as, he definitely has lacked the final product in the final third, that he's very quick. He's got great ball skills. He's very, very tough to mark. But just sometimes when it actually comes time to take the final shot, it's off target, or the final ball for a cross is just a little off target. I do think there's time for him to improve and polish up that game. Like I would not write off that player. I mean, you could argue whether or not they overpaid for him, with the obligation and all that. Like you could argue the price tag, but no, I think he's going to be a splendid player moving forward. I mean,
I want to touch on. I think that a price tag, sometimes it depends who the player is too. When you're buying a guy like Matthias de Ligt, I want to say with Juventus, and a guy like Barella, there's the potential for a lot of upscale, like for the future years to come. Those are players you can build around and become the nucleus of your team, as you're seeing with both sides. And a lot Juventus took a lot of flack last year of buying de Ligt, and he was always being called out for his handballs. So this is a guy who just gets handballs. But as the season progressed, it was no longer the handballs. He was becoming the catalyst, the leader of that back line. And he was kind of like dictating the play and what had to be done. And I think that a lot of Juventini haters are so quick to call out any player that plays on Juventus and just say, well, that's a bad deal. And that's a bad player, and he's overrated. And it's like, you got to sometimes put that hatred aside and say, hey, you know what? If I had to live on Lazio, I would be loving him. I would be like now in a back three with that guy. That guy there is going to be, I think he'll be the best defender in Serie A if Koulibaly is no longer in Serie A for future seasons to come. That's my opinion. That's how highly I rank him. And you can't really criticize a player or call him out based on a handball. Even if he did handball a play, it doesn't take away what he's done for 90 minutes. Like, and what I'm trying to get to now is that, Lucci, what were your thoughts of the last season, and the fact that he still hasn't been able to? I think that he should be available this week, and I think that
that's the rumor. Yep.
That was the rumor, and I was actually kind of happy that he wasn't available against Lazio, because that would have made things. Actually, in that circumstance, he probably wouldn't have been in form yet. But now, given 2 weeks of training, I think that now he may be up to game par. But just what are your thoughts now? The fact that A, he's back in the lineup, what does that mean for Juventus? And B, what were your thoughts of him last year too?
Well, like to touch on your handball comment, I think a few of those calls were unlucky, just bad place at the bad time. Still learning the league, and he was 19 at the time, 19 or 20, and it's a big responsibility on your shoulders to come in for the leader, the captain Chiellini, who was out for practically the whole year, and come in to fill those shoes. It's a lot of pressure on a young kid, so I'm sure he felt a little bit of that. Now that he had his first year under his belt, he's definitely feeling. I feel like now that he's back from injury, he should be feeling a lot more confident, in his abilities to play in Serie A. And towards the end of the year, he was our best defender, no question about it. He was, lights out. Even when Bonucci was struggling a bit, he stepped up. He was, he scored the odd goal. He was leading the defense by example. And to see that from someone so young is a promising thing to see. And like you said, I would have no doubts of him being one of the best defenders in Serie A, maybe in the world, depending. Ramos is on decline, Chiellini, Bonucci, Koulibaly still around. Virgil van Dijk is, everyone has their mixed opinions on him, as we saw, gave up quite an easy header to Barella, who's not the tallest person around.
Yeah.
Jerry, I think it's a big boost for us, especially this weekend with both Bonucci and Chiellini being out again. So that'll definitely help our back line. He's a rock to have. It's good, definitely good to have him back. So hopefully he can slide in. Not expect too much from him because he hasn't played at all this season. But as long as he plays a solid game and gets the job done, that's all we can really ask for right now.
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
Before I forget this, sorry, I want to go on a side note, and it's about Morata. That guy scores the ugliest fucking goals ever. I'm gonna be honest. I forgot to say this.
Man.
Hold on, we were watching a video of like all his best goals, and they were probably like one or two. I was at a soccer draft with Joe, and like we were watching the Morata goals. A lot of his goals are just so ugly, it's not even funny.
Right place at right time.
Yeah, does it matter as long as it goes in?
I can remember Christian Vieri scoring some ugly goals. I can remember Luca Toni scoring a lot of ugly goals. As long as it goes in the back of the net, the flag doesn't come up or VAR doesn't. And on Morata, the flag comes up a lot, right? But the ones that do count, I don't care if they're ugly.
I wonder if Inzaghi, when Inzaghi was playing, if they had VAR, I wonder how many of his goals would have been called off too.
He was the slogan for him was he was born offside.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that thing that Luca Toni used to do? He used to do like this, or what was that thing where with his hand he used to
celebration?
Do?
Yeah, he did like the ear thing.
Fucking like, what was he thinking? Hulk Hogan?
He started copying that too. It was like it was so in vogue for a while that like sometimes people copy goal celebrations. I remember that.
Fuck, we need to do an episode most overrated fucking players on Italy, man. Like, not looking back.
He's a World Cup winner, man. You can't hate on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying in general. Montolivo. Whatever happened to Montolivo? That guy there, fucking... Oh, my God, man. There's one. Oh, God. Oh, God. I would have to, research this stuff, man. But...
Thing is, like, for me, when it comes to Italy, I guess I have so many, even though there have been some real shit tournaments, like I have so many like positive memories of 2006 and some of the Euros that we've had recently, and I think I'm a little older than Lucci. Jerry and I are close to the same age. I have fond memories even of the 1994 team that made it to the finals with Baggio, who had that. I mean, Baggio had a tremendous cup until he put that PK over the bar, but it happens, and he wasn't healthy in that final, so it was a lot of pressure on his back. But a couple of COVID-19 updates for Inter. Brozovic tested positive during the international break. I did read that he's hoping he can be cleared by the Real Madrid game, the Champions League game midweek. He's going to miss the Torino game for sure. Brozo's had a tough start to the season, but it did look like he was actually starting to hit form over the last couple of games before this COVID thing. So, and obviously he's relied upon a lot, even if he's not in the best of form, he's relied upon a lot. So that's a loss. Kolarov has tested positive for COVID-19. I wish him a speedy recovery. As far as on the pitch goes, I don't think anyone's going to miss the guy too much, but listen, I hope he gets well very soon. One player, I got a little emotional. I got a little teary-eyed when I was reading a statement from Stefano Sensi, who doesn't have COVID, but he's constantly been hurt, guys. Since October of 2019, he's just been perpetually injured. For the first 6 weeks of the 2019-2020 season, he was so in form when he first arrived at Inter. Was one of the better players in Serie A at that point. He got hurt in the Juventus game 7 games into the season last year. It just has never been the same. Every time he's been able to come back, he's been back for a game or two, but as soon as he's starting to get in rhythm, he gets hurt again. A lot of these muscular injuries. Stefano Sensi now is claiming and purported to be completely healthy. I hope it stays that way. He released a statement on Instagram saying it wasn't an easy time A series of injuries slowed down my professional journey, my life. Not being able to do what I love with serenity has taken my smile away, he said. I'm a responsible person. Always when I fall, I do anything to get back up and come back stronger. It pisses me off not being able to contribute, not being able to give my best to society, to the staff, to our fans who have always shown respect to me. I'm working on top of my possibilities every day. I'm trying hard, no breaks or excuses. Time to leave bad luck, physical problems, obstacles that force me to break. See you soon and always strong Inter. I think that was a Google Translate from Forza Inter that went to strong Inter. He released the statement both in Italian and English. He's going to be reportedly in the squad for Inter's matchup with Torino this coming weekend. You know, I certainly hope to see him play. If he doesn't start, I'd like to see him come off the bench because this is a player, guys, that I think he could be really important for Inter if healthy. They've got a lot of midfielders, but I think their depth is a little overrated when it comes to Eriksen not getting on with Conte and not fitting the formation. He doesn't get used a lot. Raja Nainggolan is a shell of his former self. Arturo Vidal, although he sometimes plays like an MMA fighter, he has been pretty good, but he's in his 30s. He can't be starting 2 games a week. Like you've got to give this guy rest at some point. Barella has obviously been a rock for this team, and Brozovic I think is tired, from not resting at any point the last couple of years, and so a healthy Stefano Sensi can be really important, not only for Inter, but also, could be a luxury player for the Azzurri as well. Yeah. Now, the Azzurri, Daniel, is so deep in midfield that you don't look at it and say, oh, Stefano Sensi has to play. He doesn't have to play. They've got enough able bodies on the midfield, but it would be nice because when he was in form last year, he was scoring goals as well. Mm-hmm. Like he's not only a creative setup guy, but he's also a good target man from the outside. I'd love to see him healthy again.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, like, this time, more or less last year, I was thinking he was practically a lock for the Azzurri in that midfield. Now with the emergence of Locatelli and Castrovilli and whatever, his spot might be in question. So hopefully he can come back, like you said, this weekend or as soon as possible, get some good games in and show Conte and even Mancini what he's capable of doing. There's no doubt he has the skill set to be influential on the pitch. So I was a big fan of his early last year. These injuries kind of put him a couple steps back, but there's no doubt if he can come back, he can be a game changer for Inter for sure.
I don't think Sensi's going to be in the lineup for next year for Italy. I think
it'll be tough.
Probably not at this point. I mean, listen,
I don't think it's happy now.
Your best ability is availability, and since he's been unavailable, you've seen a guy like Locatelli who just from this time a year and a half ago, he was not even on the Azzurri radar, and now he's a staple. So yeah, it's going to be tough for him to get that spot back.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening. Locatelli, look what he did today, man.
He looked good today. Yeah, really very good.
There's just too many options in that midfield that makes it really hard for him, and he can't stay healthy. If Sensi can stay healthy for a month, I would be shocked, be amazed.
Well, let me ask you guys, and it's good to have Daniel on for this one. Do you think Locatelli ends up at Juve?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah, I'd love to have him at Inter, but it seems like Juve might, and maybe if Inter were to sell Eriksen like in January, then maybe that could go to a Locatelli fund. But it seems hard to think Inter would buy him right now with already a pretty high wage bill and transfer bill in the midfield. So I'm hoping he doesn't end up at Juve. Sorry.
Well, ideally they should have. I would have liked them to sign him in the summer, that would have been nice. But from what I've read, he grew up a Juve fan. So as a young kid, even though he came through the Milan Primavera and things didn't work out there. I don't think it ended too bitterly between the two. So unless he wants to stab back at Milan, he hopefully won't sign for Inter. And he said he's been a Pirlo fan, watching him as when he grew up and a Juve fan. So hopefully we shell out. His price is only going up, so someone's gonna have to shell out some money to sign him. And it looks like a great signing. Whoever's gonna end up landing him, because I don't think he might stick with Sassuolo throughout January, but I think latest in the summer he's most likely gone.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit before we close out this episode on the return of Serie A this weekend. Lazio and Juventus both play on Saturday. Inter's playing on Sunday. Jerry, Lazio, they're going to be on the road at Crotone, back from the international break. No Milinkovic-Savic. We'll see how this whole Immobile situation unfolds with his testing. We'll see if Luis Alberto is frozen out of the squad or not. But what are your expectations for the Crotone match?
Not to take them lightly. I don't care if they are last place and they haven't won a game yet. They were able to steal points from Juventus and from a Torino. A Torino side that is not as bad as people think they are under Marco Giampaolo. I think they've played some really decent football.
Right.
The results are just not there, and unfortunate for him is that it's a result-driven game where even if you have the best performances and you're not winning games, it's always comes down to the W's. So, and I feel bad for him because I think that compared to last year where he really stunk up the bed with Milan, I don't think it's been the case with Torino. And if he's to get fired, I think that another mid-table team should go after him because I think Torino is not a good team overall.
They're too dependent on Belotti. That's their problem.
Yeah. They're not a good team. I can't believe Simone Verde, what does he cost? $18 million? What a fucking waste of money. That guy's a waste. What a bum, man. He missed a glorious chance against Lazio on the far post. That guy there is Napoli
scammed. Yeah, Napoli scammed them on that one, I think.
But going back to Lazio, I think they should win this game. They should, but would it surprise me if they were to tie them or lose them? No, not at all. This is a Lazio team that has really pissed away points in past seasons against the world beater clubs. Where I remember 2 years ago we lost to Chievo at home and we lost 2-1.
Wow.
Savage got sent off for dissent, and I think the year before when Lazio didn't qualify for Champions League and we lost to Inter in the final game, we lost against one of the bottom clubs. So Lazio's always been known to throw.
Yeah, it was I think was it Crotone that beat you guys in that game before? Because the only reason why Inter even had a chance to get into Champions League if we beat you guys in that game was because you had a bad draw with a relegation club the week prior.
Bad. So for me, I think that Lazio just needs to and we were never good at coming back from the break too. We pissed it against Sampdoria last year when we came back from the break. We lost to Spal. It's always been something with this team where they just suck when they come back from the break. So I'm gonna go. I wouldn't be surprised if they tied on Saturday, but I'll go with the obvious. I'll say 2-0 win or 2-1, but the game that really intrigues me the most, obviously your team is your team, but I'm actually curious to see Saturday's game between Juventus and Cagliari. I think that's going to be a very exciting matchup. Two sides that, especially against the Cagliari side, who's showing good form lately.
Yeah.
So I think I'll leave that one to you, Lucci. But I think finally they have a good 2:45 game.
Yeah, I'm a little worried, to be honest. I know, João Pedro and Giovanni Simeone have been pretty lights out to start the season. So it's definitely not going to be an easy task. And we've shown over the past few weeks or past few games that we've dropped points where we should have collected some wins. So coming up after the break, it's going to be tough. Hopefully, Morata and Ronaldo are ready to go. They're saying, Chiesa might not be fit enough to play. They're not sure about Dybala either. We definitely have some injury concerns, and along with having a shaky start, it's definitely not going to be a walk in the park. So I think we need to definitely try to stick it to them. If Kulusevski can get into the starting 11, maybe get his creative, feet on the ball, try to get Ronaldo some goals early and take it from there. Because I know Cagliari is they're a little shaky at the back end. I wouldn't say they're terrible, but I wouldn't say they're great. So we kind of, you put pressure on it. Hopefully you crack it, and then hopefully a win would be nice. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then Inter on Sunday host Torino. All I can say is, for as much as I have defended Conte in the midst of all the attacks he's been under for the last couple of weeks, I've preached patience. If Inter lose or even draw to Giampaolo's Torino at the Giuseppe Meazza, I'm gonna be really pissed. And yeah, I think it's fair what Jerry says, that Torino is probably not as bad as their record and their point total says that they are. They've been a bit unlucky, and I've seen crazier results as an Interista than, let's say, a draw at home against Torino this weekend. But even with some COVID questions, I think that having Lukaku, who's been in tremendous form during the international break, as has Lautaro Martinez, who has really been hitting form. The attack, I think, could be clicking as much as it's been really since last season. As far as Inter defensively, again, no Kolarov is obviously not a huge loss competitively. And it seems as though the back three are finally healthy at the same time, with De Vrij, Bastoni, who's been in tremendous form, Skriniar. So yeah, I think there are no excuses, right? I mean, if Inter were to drop any points against Torino this weekend, for as much as I've been preaching patience on Conte and on the squad, if they don't get a W, I don't even care if it's ugly. If it's kind of an ugly 2-1, I don't care about style points, especially not in 2020 with what a weird year this has been. But if it's anything other than a W, my demeanor is going to change about Antonio Conte. So. Yeah. So that'll do it for this episode. Huge thank you to Daniel Lucci for joining us. And Lucci, if you have anything you want to promote, whether it be any stories you've done or let people know where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, my handle on Twitter is Daniele Lucci, Daniel Lucci. Search me up. If you want to talk Juve, Calcio, Azzurri, whatever. I just finished a couple pieces on Domenico Berardi. He had another great game for the Azzurri today, like we mentioned. And Pietro Zielinski from Napoli, who is also playing with Poland. I'm trying to get as many pieces out as possible, but, sometimes you don't have enough time. I do, though, actually have a Calcio-related story in regards to Jerry, if we got a couple minutes. So I'll share this.
Always. Yeah, we're bringing it back because we retired Jerry stories, Jerry-wise. But if we can get a third-person Jerry story, the floor is yours, Daniel.
This was a classic.
We got a lot of Longo stories.
No one got injured this time, so this is good. No one had yogurt thrown at them. But I remember one night, Jerry. This was maybe 10, 12 years ago, quite a while ago. Jerry calls me up. Hey, Luch, what are you doing? You want to hang out tonight? No, sorry, Jerry. I got Calcio. I'm playing some soccer tonight. Oh yeah, where are you playing? Blah blah blah. So sure enough, I'm there. I'm getting warmed up. I see Jerry pull up. He's there. He comes to watch. I'm like, oh, nice. Nice rivalry. I got a little bit of support in the stands. Game goes on, whatever, and all I start hearing from the fans, "You fucking suck. You suck." I'm getting ridiculed the whole game, and then at one point, I guess it got a little chippy. So I guess it was a pretty fair, clean hit. But I shouldered the guy. He fell, so they got the free kick. And all I hear is Jerry laughing from the stands. No comment, just Jerry dying in the stands.
And then there's hockey player at the time.
Yeah.
Hockey player body checked the guy to the ground.
It was a clean shoulder. I don't know, man.
Took out a guy, injured his leg. I was like, holy crap! I said.
I'm getting chirped from the stands when I have, a couple I was still in high school at the time, so a couple female friends are all coming to watch, and Jerry's just ripping on me in front of the stands. And after the game, he's like, "Yeah, you're not very good. You play like a hockey player," and that was it. Jerry never came to watch me again. That was the final time.
I love how you think, oh, my pal from work is coming by to watch me play, and he's shit talking you the entire time. What a friend! With friends like that, who needs enemies, right?
You think he would come give you some nice comments, but he's just ripping on you the whole game. I'll never forget that.
There's plenty of that was just the beginning of Jerry stories, man. The Longo days were the best ones, man.
This was at least Calcio related.
Oh man. I had a trap in the back room where anybody who would walk in, I would have the Balkan style yogurt ready, and I would whip it right against the wall. And as soon as you would walk in, the yogurt would fall all over you. So one time the VP came into the back room. He's like, "What's up with the walls? You're so dirty." And I would just look at him so stupid. I'm like, I have no idea what happened. No idea.
The culprit was right there the whole time.
Well, like the amount of yogurt I destroyed in that back room was so bad. Like yogurt falls, I would call it. Maybe I don't know, man. Good times though there.
That is unbelievable. These are really good times. We appreciate Daniel Lucci for joining us. And hey, if you guys want to follow our show on Twitter, we appreciate the follows. And man, like we don't tweet often enough from the account, and by we I mean me, because for some reason Twitter will not let Jerry log into the account. It's like like he's like shadow banned from logging into the Calcio connection, and I log in like 2 times a week. And even though we don't tweet nearly often enough from the show account, we're still growing new followers every day, which we appreciate. At CalcioConPod, if you want to follow us, that's the best way to see when a new episode is coming out, because we always tweet it out immediately at CalcioConPod. You can follow Jerry at JMancini8 on Twitter. You can follow me at Alex Donno. Donno spelled Donno. And if you're watching us, you haven't heard the audio pod before, it's a good way you can listen in the car, all that. So if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the pod. Apple Podcasts, Google, Android, everywhere you get your pods, you can subscribe. And if you're listening to the pod, you've already subscribed, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Calcio Connection, hit subscribe, turn the alerts on so you can see when a new episode comes. That's a great way to keep with us, up with us as well. So yeah, the next time we record, it should be after some Serie A matches. Actually, Jerry is going to have a special episode because I've got MLS playoffs this coming weekend. So I'm going to be very busy working with Inter Miami. So Jerry is going to be in the hot seat for me, along with the guys from the Serie A sit down and maybe another surprise guest. So that's going to be good.
It's a good bedtime story you got there, eh? Inter Miami.
Hey man, I'm repping the squad. La Rosa Negra playoffs coming this weekend.
I'm so sick of the MLS. Is that the new one?
No, it's the old one. You want to guess who's on the back?
Morata. Who else?
Cristiano.
Does it work?
Oh, Bernardeschi.
Bernardeschi jersey?
It is.
Money.
I don't know why it doesn't work, but there it is.
I can see. There it goes. Why spend money on that?
You know, I was a big fan when he joined, and now he's kind of letting me down. So, but he's played well for the Azzurri, so I hope he bounces back.
I'm not one to talk. Can you see who I'm wearing here? I don't know if you can see it, but I'm wearing a Nangolan Inter jersey. So I am not one to talk, because he absolutely sucks. But that'll do it for us. We appreciate everyone tuning in. So we're going to really dive headfirst into Serie A the next time around. We'll talk to you guys on the next episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.
2 shit jerseys.